Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. Hey, tonight we're going to be talking about somebody, there isn't very many who have not heard the name Nikola Tesla before. Most know him, great inventor, genius mind, and some even drive a car that's been named after him. But we have author Tim R. Swartz with us to talk about all things Nikola Tesla. And I don't know how I, got tongue-tied on that. It's Tim R. Swartz. I don't know what happened there, but he's going to be joining us anyway. So he said, the other guy won't be here. I promise. It'll just be Tim R. Swartz. So he's next. Welcome to the Three Beards podcast. My name's Craig, along with Austin and Chris.
Passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century.
Let me out.
I'm afraid that is right. I need you. Then live to send the innocent to their death? Is this justice and honor in Massachusetts colony?
All right. Well, welcome back to the show, everybody. Yeah, so wasn't that just an awesome intro? Man, I kind of botched that one just right away. So yeah, but hey, let's, everybody, thanks for tuning in, appreciate it. Just saw Tanya and Joey, commenting in there, welcome to the show. And at this time, let's bring on Tim R. Swartz. How are you, sir?
Hey guys, great to be with you tonight.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not sure what happened there. That was weird.
I messed up too. I brought him in early.
No, it's just for everybody that's we've had him on the show before. We when we were talking about Jeff the Talking Mongoose, and brought him. We had just casually talked about Nikola Tesla, and I'm like, yeah, we got to do the show on that one. And you can find more information about Tim and his books that he co-authored with Timothy Beckley at conspiracyjournal.com. Go there and it has links to everything that we're going to be talking about. I'm going to share that for everybody here as well on there. Ron, thank you for tuning in. Lori, thank you. Glad everybody's here. Hello, Mark. And we got everybody's going in here. So let me show these books right here. So here's for everybody that's not watching, you can see on here we've got first one here is Men of Mystery. And we're going to be talking about that one. And then we're also going to be talking about the Lost Journals of Nikola Tesla, Time Travel. And the other book that you have is The Miracle of Nikola Tesla's Purple Energy Plates. And so those are three. Did I miss any other ones that were generally Tesla?
No, those are pretty much
okay.
Those are pretty much it. The Miracle of Tesla's Purple Energy Plates. That one was kind of a blatant sales tactic by the late Timothy Green Beckley to push the purple plates that he had.
I was gonna. Okay, well, see that kind of was one of the questions because I was doing the research. It came across the inventor and the line on that I couldn't get past was, his name's failure right now, but he was like, I'm the inventor of Tesla's purple plates. And I'm like, wait a minute. You just said on the thing that these are Tesla's plates. How can you invent something that's already been invented? I'm like, but hey, what? I mean, it shouldn't be, I improved upon his design. I don't know, but I just thought it was weird. I invented something that was invented.
Yeah. Well, we can go into that later if you want to, because the guy, and I'm like you, his name escapes me at the moment. It turns out to be a pretty interesting character all by himself. So.
Yeah, well, yeah, because I said I'll look those because that was one of those things when I saw it. I was just like, I'd never heard of these before, and then it was just, so yeah. Later on, we'll definitely get into that, and because
insanely popular. It's unbelievable how popular those
Ralph,
things are.
Is it Bergstresser?
Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, Bergstresser. That's probably about as
Ralph Bergstresser.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's yeah. So we'll do that one. But first, I wanted to start. Because you've got so many books that not only just talk, like we said, the three there, but you have so many other ones that kind of use parts of Tesla, and because you see the picture of them on a few other books that you have up on the site. Mm-hmm. And one of them was, if you had to pick one thing about Tesla that fascinated you the most, what would that be?
Oh my goodness! No.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah, right. Well, I suppose. I suppose Tesla's dream for the wireless transmission of energy is probably the one thing that I find the most fascinating about him. Because it's something that that he worked so hard to try to accomplish, and came so close to it as well before he was shut down. And we were talking earlier about conspiracies and things like that. I think if there is a conspiracy out there, that could very well have been one of them when it came to Tesla's life. Was the early suppression of his idea that you could take electricity and transmit it long distances to locations all over the planet, and just eliminating the whole wired grid system.
Wow.
I mean,
yeah.
it would be nice if he left a blueprint to that. I mean, you could get rid of all the power poles and all the underground power if you could figure out how to send power via. Yeah, that'd be crazy.
He left partial blueprints, actually. Unfortunately, by the time that he was developing this system and applied for patents, he had been burned a number of times from his patents, with people just outright stealing them and taking a claim themselves. I mean, look at radio. Marconi actually used several of Tesla's patents for his own transmitter and receiver, radio transmitter and receiver, and then went on and got a patent issued himself and was declared the inventor of radio, even though it was Tesla who had these previous patents that Marconi stole. So, by that point, Tesla was like, I'm going to submit these patents, but I'm no longer going to include everything step by step. And that's what he did with his wireless transmitter, was that he left some steps out, and no one really knows today just exactly how he was going to do it.
And is it true that he was also working on a wireless intercontinental communication, but he ran out of money? Did anybody else ever get that idea and run with it, or that idea pretty much died, right?
Well, see, that was part of his whole the wireless transmission of electricity. When he had gotten to the point where he was satisfied that this was something that was going to work, he actually got raised money and started to build the first tower on Long Island, New York, a place that he called Wardenclyffe. And he told the people that were financing him that this was going to be an international radio broadcast. Not only radio, but telephone, and he said, down the road, probably video, television as well. What he left out was that this was also going to be transmitting electricity wirelessly, and once the people found that were backing him, J.P. Morgan, people like that, they couldn't conceive how you could go and put a meter and charge people for to receive electricity wirelessly. So they went and pulled all their funds, sued Tesla, and then badmouthed him in the media. And that's that did him in completely. Nobody trusted him again, because of all the the faults. You talk about Yale journalism. I mean, people were calling him the mad scientist, and somebody who would just take your money and run with it, despite all of his previous successes. I mean, we wouldn't have our AC current, AC motor, the AC electrical system. We wouldn't have our electric lights. We wouldn't have the means to power our computers that we're doing this show with. Tesla was directly responsible for all of that.
Was Tesla actually the first first inventor of the early X-ray machines, or somebody else invented that before him? Because I've heard a story that he invented X-ray, the early imaging.
He didn't invent X-ray. I mean, that was it's kind of like television, that you had a lot of people who were contributing to its development, but Tesla was one of the first to actually work with it and develop the process. I mean, there's some pictures out there. Yeah, there you go. I think that's an X-ray of Tesla's hand that he did. He really perfected the system beyond. At that point, it was still just kind of an amusement, and Tesla could see how this could really be used for all kinds of medical purposes and things like that. In fact, Tesla was really good friends with Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain, and there are pictures somewhere out there that shows Tesla and Mark Twain playing around with the X-ray machines that Tesla had. We now know that that's probably not a good idea. But at that time, nobody realized that playing with X-rays could be hazardous to your health.
I love that story about how when he was up there messing around, how they started working with that one experiment, and it caused him to have to make an emergency run for the bathroom.
Tesla was working with what was called resonant frequencies. And one of the things that he had developed was basically it was like a vibrating platform that I mean it was more than just putting rollers on something and kind of like a massage chair or something like that. No, this was something that went up into like the infra frequency types of range. Well, one of the side effects of being exposed to this is that it would loosen your bowels, and quickly. And that's what happened to Mark Twain. Is like all of a sudden he found that he had to get out of the room quickly, or he would embarrass himself. And of course, Tesla had neglected to tell him that this was one of the side effects.
That's and I didn't even really get into that stuff for anybody. I mean, a lot of people know this stuff, but one of the biggest, it's kind of in a way, it's a little bit kind of like folklore, the tales. How much of it is, is word for word, authentic. It's up for debate about when he was born, that, the severe lightning storm that he was born in, and that the midwife claimed that due to this severe storm that he was going to be a child of darkness. And the mom, refuted that and said, no, he will be a child of light. I mean, these are one, for tales, but he was born there, but he he was, I mean, from the beginning, he just showed this mind, just that was incredible. I mean, he just excelled and just went from there. I mean, I've kind of likened through some of the stuff. I wonder if people like himself and other ones didn't figure out a way to tap into the Akashic record. Mm-hmm. And that's what gives it, because one thing, I mean, we're talking 1856. Mm-hmm. How does somebody in 1856 come up with the idea of the cell phone technology that I'm currently using on, as a camera? What, they don't even have the concept of a mobile phone. I mean, we're doing this. It's like, how did they come up with this stuff? He had to have somehow come across, seen this stuff. And that's what, and of course that's, I think, wasn't that one of the theories that's out there, that he was a time traveler?
or an extraterrestrial.
Yes.
That's what there actually there was a book written in the early 1960s that said that Tesla was a Venusian that was brought here by either brought here by a spaceship, or that they had like a soul transplant sort of thing, where the baby's original soul, maybe he died in the crib or something like that, and then was replaced by an extraterrestrial.
I can see it.
Yeah, I think it kind of gives, though, short shift to the potential that humans really do have, because every once in a while you'll see the emergence of these great geniuses like Tesla. It doesn't happen very often, and unfortunately, a lot of times when they do, if themselves beaten down by their peers or society. But Tesla, for really a large portion of his life, was able to use his genius and really help push humanity forwards out of these days. Really, Tesla was born, steam was the main source of power, and Tesla really was the creator of our technological era. You can even thank Nikola for that. And as you said, Craig, right from the very beginning, this was a guy that really showed potential. His father was an Orthodox minister, and really hoped that Tesla would follow him in his footsteps. But really, Tesla didn't have, he respected his father, but he saw himself doing greater things to help humanity than their spiritual development. Now, his mother, from what I have researched, really probably that's where he inherited, his genius from, because she was a pretty smart woman herself. So, it obviously ran on that side of the family. And, if Tesla, when he was a teenager, he got pretty sick with typhus, I think is what it was, and his family thought that he was going to die, and so he made a pact with his father that if he lived, that his father would allow him to go to university and not join the priesthood. And of course, his father, that kind of put his father in a bad place. He goes, oh well, if you're not going to be a priesthood, then just go ahead and die. So yeah. So his father is like, yeah, sure, okay, I really do hope you live. So if you don't have it in your heart to be a priest, then yeah, you should go to university. And fortunately for us, Tesla did live.
So unfortunately, is there any other deeper information on why he lived from hotel to hotel? A guy so brilliant, did he set up a lab in his hotel? Did he, did he practice some of his inventions in his hotel? Or
Well, this was something that happened much later in his life, and it happened after the whole Wardenclyffe debacle, when he no longer was being funded for his work, and so later in his life, he was forced to really to move from hotel to hotel. Setting up shop when he could. Now, it's kind of a myth that in his final days that Tesla was broke, because he wasn't. Tesla still had money. He still had people who were backing him, giving him money, so that he could live in these hotels. And the last hotel that he was living in, the New Yorker in Manhattan. And none of these hotels were shoddy affairs. I mean, we're not talking about row houses or that sort of thing. I mean, these were very, very nice hotels. And in the New Yorker, Tesla actually still had a laboratory in one of the upper levels of this hotels, thanks to his benefactors and the hotel who allowed him to have that. But one of the things, though, is that when he was early on, when he did have to move from hotel to hotel, a lot of times he would have to leave his stuff behind that was kept in storage, kind of as collateral, until he could pay his bills. Wow. And then a lot of this stuff ended up disappearing and became part of what I referred to as the lost journals of Nikola Tesla. That and all of the stuff that was seized by the United States government after he passed away.
Yeah, the FBI.
They seized all that. FBI got.
Yeah, 2 days later after he died, the FBI came in to seize all of his belongings, and John G. Trump was involved in it. So
right.
Then a professor at MIT, he was an electrical engineer, and so he was one of the ones that has all, like I said, they got access to all the stuff. So Lord only knows what was taken. What was taken.
Well, and it was probably sooner than that, because the FBI had agents embedded in the New Yorker who lived there to keep an eye on Tesla. So almost as soon as he was dead, the FBI and then they brought in the Office of Alien Properties, which was odd because Tesla was a nationalized citizen and had been for many years, but the FBI didn't want to be seen as being directly involved in doing this, because they had gotten word from the White House, from the vice president, that this was going to be done, that you need to get a hold of Tesla's stuff as quickly as possible before foreign agents do. Because that had been the fear for quite a while, was that Tesla was either going to be kidnapped, or a lot of his material would be stolen, especially by the Axis powers that were coming up at that time. Rumors had it that Hitler actually wanted to kidnap Tesla, and so that was part of it, and so the FBI was keeping a very close watch on Tesla, the final years of his life.
Wow.
Yeah, and you wonder just the stuff that he didn't. I mean, when you have somebody of this mind, I mean, that's one of the things I've always thought about. It's like, and you can see where they got in there. That they just started grabbing. I mean, pieces of paper. I mean, we currently, oh God, his name is the artist. Yeah, he was famous for that Campbell soup and the Marilyn Monroe painting.
Andy Warhol.
Andy Warhol, where they went in. It basically there were all these boxes. And they've just been opening up, and they'll find like little scraps of like drawings. It's that kind of thing. You just wonder amongst all the was there some little paper that, as they found it, they're like, oh my God, and then that was one of the things that those things could have been what jump started us. Because I've always said right around the 40s and 50s, something jump started us. Because we went from vacuum tubes to suddenly we started going to transistors. I mean, it's like overnight. There wasn't like some slow thing. It just switched.
Right. Well, and as you mentioned, John Trump, who was the paternal uncle of former President Trump, who was an electrical engineer with MIT, but he was also he was part of the government, and it was his assignment to go through all of Tesla's material that had been taken and stored in this warehouse, the same warehouse that Tesla had a lot of his stuff already. So everything that then the FBI got a hold of and added to this collection, it was John Trump's job to go through it all and determine what was useful and what was not. The odd thing is that now, and you have to realize that supposedly there was enough material in this warehouse to fill at least 2 train boxcars full of stuff, possibly 3, possibly more. It's one of these things, kind of like you were talking about earlier about his birth. Whether or not this is mythology, but whether it was that much. We don't know. We just know that it was hell a lot. So Trump actually spent barely 2 days, supposedly, going through this material, and then wrote a letter to the White House saying, nothing to see here. Most of it is just of a philosophical, spiritual nature and of no use. Which is, absolutely ridiculous,
Yeah.
Because Tesla, in his later days, he started to develop, an interest maybe in Eastern philosophy and spiritualism, but it wasn't something that he wrote extensively about. So that, what Mr. Trump wrote about was just, an out and out lie, but then all of the stuff disappeared from the warehouse. It was taken by the government, and nobody really knows where it went after that point. So obviously, Trump's letter saying that there was nothing to see here, folks, was just a distraction, so people would just forget about it.
So the fact that in 1946, him and Robert J. Van de Graaff and Dennis Robinson, they start the High Voltage Engineering Corporation. And they come out with the Van de Graaff generators.
Okay, now there's an interesting story, because before Tesla had passed away, him and Mr. Trump had kind of had a run-in because Mr. Trump was considering using Van de Graaff generators to provide the electrical power for the then developing nuclear generators. All right, but Tesla said, if you use Van de Graaff generators, you're going to have several over 20 feet high in order to generate enough current. They're very inefficient when one of my Tesla coils, which would be no more than 3 or 4 feet high, would provide more than enough power to charge up nuclear generators. And so I think after that, Trump kind of had a bad taste in his mouth, for anything that Tesla had. So it's rather ironic that was the guy that the government brought in to go through Tesla's material.
And this is where kind of like I brought that up, is because if you see here, here's one of his designs. This is that, the magnifying transmitter.
Mm-hmm.
They did. So here everybody can see you got the sphere, and then you got the post off to the distance. Well, now if you look at this, you have the sphere and you have something off the distance to make the connection. That's why I said it's almost, it doesn't mean it necessarily was, taken, but it's sure kind of funny that it has the same overall look and slightly design that was designed by here, and I'm pretty sure that some of this stuff was taken, and it's just one of those, where you're like, what was there? Like you said, that's a philosophical thing. By the way, I'm starting my own company.
Yeah.
And also, what I found interesting was in 1882, when he started a new career, that was easy to him, installing industrial lights. How long did he do that career? Do you know?
Not very long, actually. Tesla was one of these guys that, he would work on something for a little while, and if it wasn't something that showed immediate success, and that was one of the things about Tesla, is that he would go into something and could pretty much guarantee that it was going to be successful, but a lot of times he would have his backers say, can you try and do this? And so, and we'll give you so much money. So, Tesla would work on that for a while, but then he would have a tendency to get bored because of his own ideas, which really took up more brain space for him. So, and you have to realize also that, when Tesla first came to the United States, one of the first jobs that he got was working for Thomas Edison. And Thomas Edison at that point was working on his idea of electrifying the country using DC current. Okay, so here you have this young upstart from Europe coming in and saying, "Hey, I've got this AC motor, which is a lot more efficient, a lot more powerful than your DC current." And Edison was like, "Yeah, I don't know anything about AC, but I can see that this would be competition." So he actually assigned Tesla some menial jobs, kind of along the lines that you were referring to, Chris, and promised him that if you can improve these things, I'll give you, I think it was like $50,000. And and Tesla was like, $50,000, hell yeah, and got to it. A couple months later, Tesla came back and said, "Okay, all finished." And Edison was like, "What? Is all those things that you gave me to do? I've not only have I fixed them, but I've improved upon them. And so where's my money?" And Edison supposedly said something along the lines of, "Yeah, well, you don't understand the American sense of humor." And so Tesla was like, "Well, screw that," and quit. And for a while after he quit the Edison company, he was digging ditches, that sort of thing. But it didn't take long for other people to find out that here this guy is. He's got some great ideas on how to improve electricity, using AC motors and other unheard of things. So he quickly was able to get people to back him, like Westinghouse. I can't think of the guy's name or his first name, but thanks to these people, Tesla was able to build the first AC generators at Niagara Falls using hydropower. That had been Tesla's dream since he was a kid. He had seen a picture, like what was it called, like a steel drawing of Niagara Falls, and he had a vision at that point where he saw, like, as he described it, like a giant wheel turning in that water, generating power. And he was like, I'm going to do that. And like 30 years later, he did. And that was the first electrical generator plant in the United States, was at Niagara Falls, all built or conceived, built by Tesla.
Yeah, that's something that it just everybody's like, yeah, hydroelectric. It's like, no, this stuff was not, was not done. I mean, that was one of the craziest things about Edison is, you could definitely tell, with J.P. Morgan, you had all this, you could definitely tell this was from where can we make the most profit off of everything? Mm-hmm. Because like I said, direct current, got to have lines, you got to have meters, you got to have all this stuff. And then when Tesla it's like, no, this could be so much more efficient. And you're like, yeah, but I mean, you could almost see this is like the pre-union thing. But yeah, but what about the copper guys? You got to, you got to have the copper guys paid. You got to have the guys run the lines. What are we going to do? It's all this money that was to be made. Well, things. Like you can't just send it to them. I mean, that's crazy.
One of the reasons that Tesla got it in his head to, there's got to be a better way to send electricity, to households rather than through, cables. And the reason for that was because after Tesla had built the generator plant, the contract had been awarded him, to build the generating plant, and then they were going to go and power the World's Fair at that time. And the contract was that Tesla would supply the power for the World's Fair, but the cabling was awarded to the Edison Company. And Tesla didn't like that. He thought that, he should have it all, that, he should, generate the electricity and send it to the World's Fair. And so that kind of, that naturally that stuck in his craw a little bit. So that's what really got him started. And like, okay, well, if that's going to happen, what could be a way that I could have sent that power to the World's Fair without using cables? And, with Tesla, then, that got that wheel rolling in his head. And, he had this amazing ability that if he was working on an idea, after a while, his mind, he said that he would have a vision where he could see his invention in front of his eyes, almost like Hollywood. Yeah, maybe. I mean, he had an eidetic memory.
Yeah.
So he would have this vision where he would see like the three-dimensional schematic of whatever it is that he was working on, and with his mind, he said that he could turn it in any direction. He could pull it apart. He could see every little component of this, and then all he would have to do is write it down, or he would have his assistants write it down from his descriptions, because Tesla didn't really like to spend a lot of times writing stuff down. And so once he had started working on this idea for the wireless generation of electricity, it was only a matter of time before these visions started coming to him. And he eventually built a laboratory out at Colorado Springs, Colorado. And his initial concept was that maybe I could pull down electricity from thunderstorms, like capture lightning in a bottle. But after a while, he found that it was almost impossible, just due to the static electricity nature of lightning, and that it was just so incredibly powerful. It would just be impossible for him to do it. So instead, he started working on, well, okay, I'll generate my own electricity, then I send it from where it's generated to somewhere else. So it was at that laboratory that you're seeing right now there at Colorado Springs that he was able to come up with that concept. And you see, there's the antenna with a copper ball on top of it. And he actually built a receiver unit several miles away in a field where he had strings of lights. And once he started generating the electricity from that location, and you had this copper ball that was in the air, but he also had an antenna that was below ground that it was kind of like the polar opposite of being up in the air. There was also one sticking into the ground, and somehow, and that's the part that people really haven't been able to figure out yet, there was some kind of resonance going on, so that if you had a receiver that was on the same wavelength, so to speak, I'm not a scientist, I really can't tell you exactly how it was going to be done, but if it was on the same resonance, then it would be able to pick up this energy that was being broadcast, and it was used to power these lights. And there is at least one or two pictures, supposedly, and I've seen them, of these lights, in a far field, glowing on their own. So, Tesla was so positive that this was going to work. He knew it was going to work, that he was able to raise money and start building the first transmitter then in Long Island. And, Tesla wasn't the type of guy just to go off, half-cocked. He wasn't going to use this as an experiment. No, he knew it was going to work.
Yeah, so why build this boring structure when you could have this?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Why have a simple pole, that transmits it to your wireless thing, when you can clearly have this mess where it's an instant incineration for any bird that flies into the street.
So what company paid him royalty? A company paid him like $15,000. Am I correct? Of some royalties?
That would have been Westinghouse, because Westinghouse. Tesla and all the people involved in the Westinghouse company became millionaires after the Niagara Falls power plant was built. Because not only did you have this first power plant generating electricity, but then you had all of the other different components, generators and whatnot that were being sold all over the place. All of these different patents that were produced because of this. It was just insane, the amount of money that was being made. Unfortunately, the Westinghouse company, apparently, they, and who knows why, typical, I suppose, corporate mindset. After a few years, they found themselves having financial problems, and they went to Tesla and they said, we're paying you so much royalty money every month, every year, but we're going broke. Can we maybe pay you less? And Tesla, this was the kind of guy Tesla was. Tesla said, look, if I need money in the future for something else that I'm working on, if you promise to give me that money, I'll waive all of my royalty rights. You can have it all because you supported me at the beginning. You were the ones who agreed to give me money to make my dream come true. I'll waive all of that just as long as you support me in future endeavors. And that's the kind of guy that Tesla was. Unfortunately, Westinghouse did not live up to that. As time went by, and the Westinghouse was somewhat a part of the whole Wardenclyffe debacle. They just kind of said, well, you're a risk now, so goodbye, that sort of thing.
Yeah. No, they were some. Carolyn was just talking about how there's been also that talk. Was he killed
at 84 years old? I think he died of
natural causes. No, it wasn't natural causes. He was hit by a car.
that actually happened a couple of years before he died. He was hit by a taxi cab on the streets of New York, and it definitely was not good for his overall health, because I mean he already was an old man and probably not in the best of health. But yeah, I mean, there's you go on the web and you'll find all sorts of conspiracy theories that Tesla was murdered, or that he didn't die when he was supposed to be have died, that he had been spirited away. Him and Elvis and Michael Jackson, I guess.
Everybody's together.
Yeah, all living down in a hotel in the Caribbean. So, you're right. Yeah.
I can't imagine an 81-year-old getting struck by a taxi cab did much good for his health.
No. And it's amazing that he did manage to live then a couple of years. After that point, and he eventually ended up dying from heart failure. But yeah, I mean, I doubt if his run-in with the taxi cab, helped him live any much longer after that.
I can imagine his heart being weak after all the electricities he's played with. They say electricity kind of throws off your heart rhythm, so maybe that was the cause of his heart failure.
Possibly. I mean, considering all of the experiments with electricity, and he had mishaps over the years, though he was also very cautious. I mean, I don't think there was anybody who understood electricity better at that time than Tesla did. So I mean, to live as long as he did into his 80s, you have to consider, he died in 1943. I mean, especially for a man to live that long, I mean, I think he did pretty well for himself.
Yeah, and we looked at the time here. Well, you said we were going to touch on it a little bit. Your book, The Purple Plates.
Yeah.
So, what was this? What was the story? You hinted that a little bit. So, what's the main story of Nikola Tesla coming up with that purple plate?
Well, one of the funny things about it is that you have these purple plates, which I'm still not quite sure just exactly how they're supposed to work, but they're supposed to have all kinds of life affirming or healthy benefits by just carrying them around. They're supposed to have been charged with some kind of electromagnetic energies by this inventor. So they've been around for a long time, and Tim Beckley started carrying them, and they've been really popular. And oddly enough, you have a lot of people who've written back and said, yeah, these things actually work. I'm having health problems. I started carrying one around, put it on my pillow at night, and it helped me. People put glasses of or jugs of water on top of them. It's supposed to help purify the water. So, for years I always thought, this is one of these things that, people just kind of glomming on to Tesla's name. Turns out that this Ralph, how do you pronounce his name again there?
I just clicked off of it too.
Don't worry about it. This guy actually knew Tesla and worked with him in the later days of Tesla's life. This guy was an actual electrical engineer, and his name crops up periodically in the FBI papers about Tesla. So I mean, I was flabbergasted when I found that this guy actually did know Tesla and worked with him. And in fact, had written to the FBI several times stating that it was his concern that there were foreign agents who were spying on Tesla and possibly were going to try to kidnap him or steal his material, and why wasn't the FBI doing more to help him out? So, again, I'm not going to sit here and say that yeah, these purple plates, actually do everything that they say they're going to do, but the inventor did work with Tesla. And, who knows? I mean, unlike a lot of other people who over the years have claimed that they work for Tesla and, they're just, con men, this guy actually did.
Well, Brett Favre says those copper, things work. He wears those copper fit gloves.
Oh.
And he puts all this stuff, so Brett Favre says that, the copper, the miracle power of copper. So, well, the miracle power of the purple plates,
Yeah, the purple plates are some kind of, what's it called, like iodized aluminum. But I couldn't tell you how they're supposed to work. But in between the time that Tesla had to stop working on his Wardenclyffe Tower and the time of his death, he was actually hired by a number of medical companies to develop electrical medical devices. A lot of times involving not only like magnetism, electromagnetism, but therapeutic heat devices and things like that. So I mean, I suppose it's not outside the realm of possibility that this was something that Tesla had been working on at the time, and then these other engineers kind of took his ideas and developed them further. Who knows?
Yeah, there's a tower for anybody that's that's watching that hasn't seen it.
Right,
yeah.
Right. And it would have worked very similar to our cell phone towers today, but rather than generating, like a cell phone signal, this would generate electricity, and you would have them scattered all over the country, each one powered up and interconnected, so that anybody in between would have an antenna that would be up in the air, and then I think one buried in the ground as well, to be able to pick up this energy. And no, it's people say, well, it was just going to be a giant Tesla coil shooting out lightning, huge bolts of electricity. I mean, we've seen the videos of a Tesla coil operating, and it wasn't going to be just like this giant Tesla coil, electrifying everything within sight. There was something else going on there, but we don't know. Maybe the curators at the Tesla Museum in Belgrade have a better idea, because they won't let most people look at the Tesla papers that they have.
Yeah, I wonder why that is. It's one of those things, when we're looking at stuff, wonder why there's such, like pretty much a lockdown.
Oh yeah, well, it's one of the reasons is because they know that the United States also has this stuff, because it was the United States who released this material to the Tesla Museum in the late 50s. By this point, the United States had already copied everything, so I don't think that they thought that there was any harm for whatever reason. Who knows? I mean, hard to understand, a government military bureaucracy, or maybe they kept stuff, back. More than likely, the Soviet Union already had the plans for Tesla's death ray, because Tesla had sold it to him in, I think it was 1936. And the Soviets were pretty happy about it, because a couple of years later they gave him Tesla more money because of this. And it was perfectly legal at the time. The Soviet Union was an ally of the United States, and the United States wasn't interested. And so using a American company that dealt with like buying things here in the United States for the Soviet Union, and that's how it worked with Tesla. So obviously the Soviet Union took that particle beam weapon and developed it further, because there were satellite images taken in the 1980s of some kind of odd device at an experimental proving ground in somewhere in Russia that experts couldn't identify at first, and then somebody said, "Hey, look at this! This is a Tesla particle beam weapon." And it's you can find that
wow,
all over the internet now.
I'll see if I look at. Well, I'm looking for that too. Here's what are your thoughts on the Spirit radio?
No.
Broke up a little bit.
Yeah, it's pretty creepy, but I think that it's nothing more than the sound that you get when you have like electrical resistance going on from say like the coils to whatever the copper device that's spun around it. But like a lot of these spirit boxes that you have, people claim that they're able to hear some kind of EVPs from this device. But Tesla probably was one of the first to actually heard what would now be considered electronic voice phenomena because of his research after he received what he thought could be intelligent transmissions from another planet at his laboratory in Colorado Springs. After that point, he started doing some research and experiments with other frequencies. There you go. That's it. That's the particle beam weapon that was photographed by American spies in the Soviet Union. It was
you can see right there on that part. Right there is where the
right, and I think Tesla's concept. Tesla's concept at that point was that you would have a metal like tungsten that would be powdered to an almost microscopic level, and then it could be shot out of an electrified barrel using positive and negative charges, and it basically could shoot a beam of these electrified particles for hundreds of miles, Tesla estimated, and would be absolutely devastating to, say, like an airplane or a missile or something like that. And you have to realize this was something that Tesla conceived of probably in the late 19th century, early 20th century. I mean, this was, he revealed it finally in the early 1920s, and then in the early 1930s, he started contacting other countries, offering plans for this device to help against the growing Nazi menace. But only the Soviet Union were the ones who took him up on it.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the reasons why the United States was so interested in getting a hold of as much of Tesla's material as they possibly could after he died, because they realized at that point that they had screwed up massively. One of the reasons for that screw up is that Thomas Edison was on the board of directors of the I can't remember what it was called, the National War Council, and it was part of his his job to look for military contractors to develop weapons and things like that. And when Tesla submitted his idea for the death beam, Edison naturally just we're just screw that. We're not even going to listen to this thing. So after Tesla died, the United States is like, okay, we got to get on top of this as quickly as we can.
Yeah. No, that was pretty much like the main things, like I said, I wanted to cover is just because here's this man. I mean, we kind of glossed. I mean, at the end, he was really fascinated with pigeons. In the end, and that's where I've kind of led like the ones that seem like the Akashic record, because that's always been the real where you have you have the real brilliant minds that just seem to have this otherworldly access to information. You know, Da Vinci, I mean, it's just Tesla. I mean, these ones where this is stuff that there's no way they would know how to do helicopters, how to do, airplane. I mean, it's like Da Vinci, you see some of the stuff he's drawn. I mean, same with Tesla. There's no way somebody at that period should have even just the slight concept of coming up with like the cell phone, to even just talk about, oh yeah, we should be able to send electronic communications. You're like, I mean, this is something that just, for me, that's always shown just the brilliance of somebody like Tesla. It just the ability to come up with this stuff. And then it's a question of, where did this intelligence come from?
Yeah. Well, our technology now is really the process of catching up to Tesla's ideas, because like you said, I mean, he was conceiving of things that was beyond technology at the time, which was, some of the hindrance to him. He could only work using the technology that was available to him at the time. He could only go so far into, inventing things to work with his ideas. But, you after a certain point, you just hit a stone wall. Now, if Tesla was alive now, it'd probably be the same thing. He'd probably come up with ideas that would be, the technology won't be available till, 100, 200 years in our future. So,
it'd be something crazy.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think you're right. I think that there are people who are born, they have ability to tap into that universal knowledge, and because Tesla, he was one of these people that the ideas were just constantly coming out of him, just constantly flowing out of him. And when he didn't have the time to write it down, he would tell his assistants to write them down. And I think that that's where you have a lot of this material that has been squirreled away by the government, that's been just researched over the years. And who knows what has come out of that the civilian population just has no idea. What may have been developed that came from this fantastic mind of Tesla. Hopefully, not too many weapons of mass destruction types of things, because that just would have appalled Tesla. He was a man of peace. Anything that he came up with of a military nature was always of a defensive, on the defensive side. Never on the other side. His death ray was always for defense. Not, it was not his concept that you could use the death ray, to blow up another country, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's just such an ominous name. I came up with the death ray. You're like, oh my god. It's like 1940s, 50s science fiction type thing. I've invented the death ray.
Right.
You can just picture the little coil things around the gun. Yeah, it's Marvin the Martian. It's
Mm-hmm. Well, and actually, as Tesla said, it wasn't a ray; it was a beam.
Yeah. Not
a ray; it was a beam.
Oh man! Well, hey, Tim, I appreciate you coming back on. This was a lot of fun. I said we definitely will have to, down the road. We're gonna have to do this again. I said you've got. I mean, for everybody, go to conspiracyjournal.com. I mean, you've got a long list. So, we didn't even really get into Tesla supposedly talking to other worlds, like communicating off planet. I mean,
right.
If you want to cover that, I mean, can you give everybody the abridged one in like a couple minutes?
Oh, sure. Well, it's like I said earlier, when he was at Colorado Springs, Colorado, one evening he had a radio receiver on, and he started receiving from a part of the sky that what sounded almost like Morse code types of signals. Now you have to realize that in 98, I think, in 99 is when this was, there wasn't any other radio transmitters on the planet, at least as far as we know. So Tesla surmised that possibly he was hearing intelligent transmissions from another planet. because of that, over the years, he started doing research into other radio frequencies and picked up what appeared to be a voice transmissions, sometimes in foreign languages that he couldn't understand, sometimes it appeared to be in languages that he could. He never wrote too much about exactly what it was. He kind of worried at one point that he was actually hearing local transmissions from possibly otherworldly beings that were here on the planet, but that was just speculation on his part. To me, it sounds an awful lot like what we would now call electronic voice phenomena. People use that to supposedly talk to spirits of the dead. So, Tesla in the early 1900s was doing something that really wouldn't become commonplace until the 1930s.
That's you got to get more into that, because that's pretty fascinating. Just that whole, I've thought about it a couple times, like making one of those Tesla coils, for the radio, and just to try it, and just so you could freak people out, go set it up in Austin's desk there.
The audio from those things is freaky. Yeah. They're scary. It'd be something good for Halloween to scare the trick or treaters.
yeah. Just it's like, here, press play, and all of a sudden they're all take off running.
Right.
Yeah, that's no. So everybody, I'm gonna put it up here on the screen too. So everybody go to conspiracyjournal.com, and that is his website. And there's bio on Timothy Green Beckley that he co-authored quite a few works with. Ones, I said, links right to Amazon, to upcoming articles that he's posted, so you can follow it on Twitter, and I said subscribe right there so you can get your Conspiracy Journal newsletter. So Tim R. Swartz, thank you so much, sir, for coming on again.
My pleasure. I just really quick, I want to push Timothy Green Beckley's last book. He passed away while he was working on this, The Dulce Warriors.
The Dulce base.
All right. Dulce, yes.
Yep.
The whole Dulce base controversy. So myself and Sean Castile finished it up for him, and it just came out just really a couple weeks ago. So
that's actually, if you want showing that again, that's a really cool cover.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I did the graphics for the cover. So
yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah.
Next we talk.
And it's it really is. It's an excellent book, and it gets into the whole Dulce secret base mythology, and some of the people who took that story and just ran with it, with some of the alien mythology that's still with us today.
Yeah, a little plug for another thing I do on occasion. The Red Thread Collective, we talked about Dulce base too, and that was one of the ones. And that was a fantastic, story. Just talking about it, just how it's out in the middle of just nowhere, but there's all this phenomenon that goes around that mesa.
It is. It's really a bizarre story, and it's fascinating just on how a mythology, whether it's true or not, can grow from just like one little seed to become, just really almost all encompassing when it comes to the UFO mystery.
Yeah. Oh, you did. No, and that book's now, is that currently available on Amazon?
Yes, it's available as both paperback and as a Kindle e-edition.
All right. Well, everybody go check that out, and also support him and late Timothy Beckley again on his latest work. But Tim, thank you so much, sir. Really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. I had a great time tonight. I hope your audience enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, I think so. Everybody, Ron and Harlan, say thank you. Great show. I know Joey and Tanya from Into the Outer Realms, they're friends of the show. They were watching as well. So, but so once again, everybody, thank you, sir. We will definitely be in touch. Appreciate it.
All right, great. Thanks, guys.
Buy those books.
Good night.
All right, everybody. This show was brought to you by ThreeBeardsPodcast.com. Oh, look at that. Yeah, go there, buy some merchandise, support us. Sarah, you're welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, that's one of the greatest ways to help us out. Go there. It links right to our merchandise site. Buy some merchandise. Patreon.com. You can go there. Just even a little as $1. That's said. It's amazing. We appreciate all that. So you can go check this out. Patreon.com/Three Beards Podcast. Everybody, thank you for watching. Go to social medias, YouTube, subscribe, hit that like button. Just hit it. Just hit it hard. Bam. Because I'm trying not to use the smash that like button. That's overused. But yeah, hit that like button. Get that. It's just, Twitter, Instagram. We're even on, as Chris says, the talk. We're on TikTok. We're on TikTok now, so we're trying to figure out some, something to put on there other than us, because I don't really think anybody's going to watch three bearded guys twerking, with wet t-shirts. So yeah, I don't think that's going to work out too well. So there probably won't be any of that type of content. But yeah, who knows? We're easy.
No, we're
all
not.
Right, so everybody, that's right. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Everybody go support Tim. Go support those books. Go check out conspiracyjournal.com. Thank you, everybody. Good night.